And like Michelle just said, we are continuing our health and wellness as we're exploring on Tuesday. This is one of my favorite things about our Tuesday show is that we get to really kind of dive into mental health with All Points North Lodge. And here to tell us a little bit more about her role and some of the things that they offer is Lana Seiler. She's the Director of Trauma Services. Good morning.
Good morning.
So good to have you here.
So great to be here.
And it's always so great to catch up with you. And also, I feel like I learn something every time that we talk. And we do have some fun things in common. We're both Floridians.
Yes.
So, it's nice to have little transplants here in the mountains. But, Lana, when it comes to trauma, you're the Director of Trauma Services. And I think a lot of times, we think about these big things and they happen once and then that's it, right? But then there's a lot of times that maybe it can keep impacting your life. And so what are some of the ways that shows up for people?
Yeah. So that's a great question, because a lot of times people come into treatment or come looking for services because there are things that are happening in their lives that are disruptive. And a lot of times we don't know why that's happening or where it comes from. And so when we think about the impacts of trauma in our daily life, a lot of times we think about the more extreme end of the spectrum. So we're looking at PTSD symptoms like flashbacks and night terrors, and the sense of impending doom and really heightened levels of anxiety and panic that people often experience when they're exhibiting true PTSD symptoms. And a lot of us are familiar with those symptoms in first responders and veterans, people who have survived war and conflict, things like that. But also, we have some more subtle forms of those symptoms that happen in our lives. And I learned, when I was in school and just out of graduate school, I was learning a lot about trauma, how it manifests in our lives and how to treat it. And one of the things that kept coming up was this concept of trauma reaction and age regression, and in its more subtle forms. And so the way I like to describe that is, this morning, for example, driving here, there was someone in front of me that was going a little slower than I would have liked on the road, And I could feel myself very easily dropping into what I would describe as an age regression, which means I would maybe drop into a teenage version of myself. And I might act in ways that I wouldn't if I was my calm, centered, grounded adult self, right? So these things happen more frequently than we realize. And most of the time there's not a problem. We just maybe get a little riled up and we feel that heat kind of happening in our bodies and we get a little anxious or upset or angry. And then it kind of dissipates and we center ourselves. But sometimes it doesn't go that smoothly. We find ourselves acting in ways that are younger than our age. We find ourselves responding to things in an extreme way. So if something happens in our lives, let's say we're looking at a scale of 0 to 100 in intensity or in distress, and something happens in our lives that might be a 20, right? So I get a phone call from someone and they're angry with me about something, right? If I react to that 20 as if it's a 60, and I lose it on them, or I completely end the relationship, or I drop into a shame spiral about it, that's an indication that I'm having a trauma reaction, or potentially an indication that I'm having a trauma reaction or an age regression. Meaning there's something in my past that's being activated. And it's causing me to respond to this event that might not be so intense in a very intense way. And that I just use those numbers as an example, but it can be all across the board on that scale.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
This is fascinating. I just want to keep going, but we are out of time, which is just not fair. So, Lana, if people are interested, that's piqued their interest and they're thinking, oh man, that kind of sounds like something I'm dealing with, where would you send them for more information or for, just further exploration of how to maybe, fix that or treat it?
So I would find someone who specializes in working with trauma, and we can talk next time about all of that because there's a whole bunch that goes into how to treat that.
Okay.
But I would find a clinician in your area who specializes in that. You can call us and we can help you.
Well, my goodness, this is I can't get enough time with you. Okay, more later. You have to come back next week. All right, so apnlodge.com. If you want to find more information, reach out, see if this is something that you are just really interested in and to further your journey. So apnlodge.com is the website. We'll be right back with another look at that local weather forecast.